bum, 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 bum. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us in here with our big Black Widow discussion, heading right off of our big Loki season finale. Glad you guys could join us right afterwards. Joining me, of course, those that were just with me, Rob Stone and Corrie Shoemaker. How you guys doing?
Good. Ready to dive in.
Yeah.
David off this cold.
So we'll be honest, this will be a spoiler-filled discussion. So if you have not seen Black Widow yet, go check it out.
Get out of here.
It's worth it. And then come back and check out our discussion. So without any further ado, here, I'm going to go ahead and sort of lead this one off opinion-wise, and then we'll circle things around. Look, this is the first Marvel theatrical production in a couple of years because of COVID and all the delays and everything, long awaited. We went through all of last year without a Marvel movie. And so I was really looking forward to this, certainly as a fan of the character who has been, kind of given the short shrift in a lot of opinions. You're looking forward to a film, seeing what they could do. Obviously, a little late to the party, considering that this is an adventure of a character who we know is dead, but still
a lot late.
was excited. Yes, was excited to see what it is that Marvel is going to tell. What is the story if we're going to finally get an actual Black Widow movie? And
Budapest.
Yeah,
finally.
And much like where it's been placed in the MCU, the film to me is a sidestep. It's a serviceable film. The action's good. There is some great character. David Harbour is hilarious. Florence Pugh is astounding to look at. You can put Rachel Weisz in anything, and I will happily watch it. So you've got a great cast. You have Marvel action. You've got certainly an opening sequence that was, to me, very captivating and interesting. Really, sort of get you from the going all the way up to the opening credits. But it felt like a Fox X-Men movie. I had threw out a comment to some friends that the Black Widow is the Wolverine of the MCU. A serviceable entry with decent stuff, but also feels like it didn't get that final coat of polish. It didn't get that little cleanup to make things make sense. It didn't get that proper enjoiner on both ends. It felt like characters were given names and slapped on and inserted in there. It felt like that the entry point, the entry and tag in were just literally tagged on and sort of forced into where they wanted it in the storyline. In many ways, it felt like it could have existed anywhere on the timeline. It doesn't connect to anything. It's a good movie until you start to think about it. And then things start to fall apart. So is it worth your money? If you like MCU movies and you want to see Black Widow do some stuff and some great, hilarious supporting cast, sure. If you're looking for something that is going to link to the next Marvel movie that's going to feel like some integral part of a larger story, no, because nothing that happens in this movie will have any big impact on what came before or what's going to go future outside of introducing a new Black Widow. So yeah, that's how I felt. What did you guys think of the film? Whoever wants to jump in, go right ahead.
I can start. Okay, so I have loved the character of Black Widow since I first saw her on screen. I've loved her in Iron Man. I constantly wanted to see more of her, learn more of her backstory. She was kind of in this mystery, cloaked in mystery. We only knew so much. We only knew what we needed to know. And Scarlett Johansson played her so well. Like, played her to perfection. And so going into the movie, I had very high hopes. I wanted it to be great. I wanted it to do service to the character. I wanted it to be a wonderful send-off for her because she kind of got the short end of the stick in Avengers Endgame. I mean, Tony had this huge funeral and she's just thrown off a cliff. And that's it. Like really, it's almost as bad as being shelved.
She got an "I tried to bring her back" line.
Yeah, I mean, she got that. But if she sees the Avengers as her family, it should be a reciprocal feeling. There should be something in that film, saying goodbye to her. And we don't really have that. And so I felt it was a disservice to her as a character. So very much hoping that we get something to make up for that. And we didn't. And it was so frustrating. And especially as a woman, having a strong female character like Black Widow, and then having her character kind of be like given the discount treatment of, well, we have to give her a movie at some point. It just felt like the company, it felt like, cinema in general, people who were working in cinema weren't seeing her as a viable banking source. They didn't think that her movie would do well, therefore they didn't put a lot of effort into her movie, and it shows, and it's so sad. And especially because it's the first like female-led superhero film in the Marvel. I mean, I don't count Captain America because I also wasn't happy with that one, but
I was about to say there was one, but I see what you mean.
There was?
I see what you mean.
Oh, but no, I mean, she should have had her movie before Captain Marvel. She should have come out before that. And it's just, if we're getting movies this bad that are being led by the female characters, it really doesn't offer a lot of hope for more opportunities to have strong female characters leading a superhero film. And so for me, that's very discouraging because I want to see that grow. I want to see characters have good films. And having watched, Agent Carter season 1 and 2, and having watched what they did with Peggy and watched what they could do with Melinda May, like she's basically a Black Widow,
yeah.
Right? Like, why couldn't we have gotten that in the Black Widow film? And it was so frustrating and so disappointing and disheartening because, you take 2 steps forward with these characters for women, and then you take 5 steps back. And why that was, I don't know, because obviously I wasn't involved to the discussion board, right? Disney didn't call me up and ask.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's Ike Perlmutter, the ex-head of Marvel, who it is to blame, who literally said a female-led superhero movie isn't going to make any money, which is why there was never a Black Widow movie until Ike got canned a couple years ago, and that's when they started doing filling out the Black Widow, since Feige's in charge now. So, there was a literal girls aren't going to make money mindset behind all of this, which is depressing and sad.
And I mean, even with the merchandise, like trying to find Black Widow merchandise is like looking for a needle in a haystack. You go into a store, there's a bazillion Captain America stuff. But if you're looking for Black Widow action figures, aside from the expensive ones, like if you're a family with 2 kids and you're looking for what can I get Black Widow for my daughter, there's probably a t-shirt, maybe a backpack. Like really you're going to get her action figure if she comes with a set, or you'll get a pop figure. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's frustrating. I mean, Rob might know more. He might know, more about the action figure area. But
let's get up.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair. I mean, I appreciate that approach, and especially somebody who wants to see something again. Also, all of us wanting to see this character, presented well. But yeah, disappointing both for the character and for female-led superhero movies. Though financially, it has done well. So, I mean, this is a plus side in Marvel's bank account. But Rob, what about yourself? What was your take on our Black Widow adventure?
So yeah, I mean, it's the best movie of 2015 that never came out, right? I mean, if this had literally just been shelved, you know what I mean? Like, then they'd have some kind of excuse. Like, oh, we didn't really think it was much, so we just decided to scrap it, and we were in a lull here with COVID, so we're putting it out there just to recoup, kind of like how they had to release the New Mutants or something,
Yeah.
But it showed like this is a pattern. It happened, and it backfired in a positive way with Black Panther, where they didn't put the money into that they should have, and it shows, and it succeeded despite themselves. And this movie is not going to make Black Panther money. And there's a reason for it. And it's not just COVID, and it's not just because it was pushed back. And it's not just because it's a female-led movie. It's because it's just too little too late.
Yeah.
There's no stakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're introducing characters that you didn't know about before. You're not going to really have to think about them too much, except for Florence Pugh. And it felt like, it wasn't a complete commercial to introduce Florence Pugh as the replacement, but it was damn near close. And to me, when your main character is somebody that you care about, I look around me and I have 3 posters with Black Widow on them in this room because I like this character so much. I've liked her all the way going back to when I first started reading comics back in the late 80s. I loved that she was the one who did some real dirty, got into the dirt and did the stuff that Captain America couldn't do.
Yeah.
And they perfectly cast Scarlett Johansson despite that awful wig in Iron Man 2. And she just really got to, by Winter Soldier, I mean, she was amazing. And she just kept getting better, and the potential to keep getting better. And then we kill her off in Endgame because maybe they I don't know, flip a coin, I guess.
She's
maybe
too expensive, man.
Maybe. So when we finally get this movie, and she's basically a side character in her own movie, and they're just trying to wrap up her arc, which is going all the way back to the beginning, which is fine, has been done in the comics. They've talked about the Red Room and everything, and it's, if done well, this Red Room story could be really, really good. We had hints of it in Age of Ultron when we saw some flashbacks to the Red Room. But instead, what did we get? Well, we got this Red Mist MacGuffin stuff that just happens to immediately break people free from years and years of brainwashing, just because, like a little spritz.
The one switch that turns the enemy off.
You got a bad guy who somehow is able to have his own freaking floating fortress without anybody knowing where it is. And he's basically Harvey Weinstein. All right, they've changed it from, like, because I remember that place, the Red Room, was back in Natasha's youth, was run by there were women there, and it was like a very strict, scary school. And it's Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein in a sky fortress with a bunch of women that he controls with a temp pad, with a freaking tablet. And he can send his little sexy Charlie's Angels down to take care of things whenever he wants them to. He has a whole horde of women at his disposal. And I mean, come on, Ray Winston, you tell me that he wasn't supposed to be like to be the stand-in for the Harvey Weinstein character. They went. I'm not saying that this story, like, that what they were doing wasn't completely unlike the horribleness of Harvey Weinstein, but they really smacked us over the head with it. And they were trained to be assassins, and that meant that some of these, they were going in and doing sexual escapades probably to get into places. They try not to talk about it too much in the shows and the movies. They're killers, and they'll kill however they have to, wherever they need to go and get it done. And it just felt like hit me too over the head with something that I already know is bad. And the audience already knows it's bad. We've been dealing with all that. And knowing that she dies, she's also got plot armor so thick that she can fall off of buildings, hitting every freaking piece of the building on the way down and still do a superhero pose.
Yeah, is she a superhero?
Away completely fine.
But the other Black Widow that fell broke her leg and then died.
Yeah. And, this movie had an incredible beginning. It was really well set up, showing where they started this whole thing out. And that's where I'll stop and we can talk about this. Is that opening of this was her family. They weren't related, but they were. It reminded me of the show The Americans on FX with Kerry Russell and Matthew Reese, where you got undercover people doing espionage in America, and we see the end of their run where they've got to get out of Dodge. And that was all really well done. It reminded me of something that would have been in one of the Captain America movies. The whole scene at the end with him on the wing and everything was just really exciting. And then the heartbreak of where it ends, and they realized we're not family anymore. We have to do what our country tells us to do, and they get separated and broken apart and done terrible things to them. And then we jump forward, and the first half of this movie has got some really good character stuff. Even the introduction of Florence Pugh and David Harbour in jail and Rachel Weisz, all that stuff really works. But then you get into that third act, and then you get into Taskmaster and the absolute plot armor that these characters have, and it just starts falling apart.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to sort of open things up because, yeah, I agree. The opening was awesome. It was very cool, especially with David Harbour. They go all the way up until the airplane, and then he just tosses that one thing out of the way, the trailer out of the way. You're like, oh, super soldier.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of build up. It was a great fight with him on the wing there and shooting, and why would be able to hold on. It was exciting. I loved the creepy, twisted teen spirit opening for the song, and the way that they did the sort of flashes and such of showing this kind of dark window dress learning to be, an American, learning to sort of fit into a role. And I appreciated the darkness that they brought into it. Surprising for a Marvel movie, but I was like, yeah, we're going to get into some exploration on this. But that's it. Someone tell me who watched the movie what the Red Room is outside of just this guy's training girls. The whole thing that you're talking about of who mentions here in the chat of state-sponsored it's April E. I think the widows are an interesting story if done correctly. The story of state tapping an unused segment of the population to further their political desires. And sure, we move this on to one person, but I didn't get that darkness of the widow program of what it is that they really do. By the end, it's like, oh, they're just assassins with guns. Well, it's just another group of, why do you even need Taskmaster if you've got these programmed assassins? Again, start to think about things and they start to fall apart, which is the frustrating part of this movie. But yeah, I would love to have seen that story that's only touched on a little bit and said how bad it is. And sure, we get the nice little discussion at the end there and that cute little shot of all the girls that are being used, so that'll tug at our heartstrings. but it doesn't really explore what the Red Room is or how that power structure was made, or even to the point of its destruction and then being rebuilt. And you're telling me that Fury didn't know it was back and it was this a Hydra thing? That would have been an interesting even side comment to make, that Hydra hit him. Sorry, I'm getting ahead from just the opening sequence, but Corrie. I
mean, I guess one thing I picked up from the very opening was that there was like a strong underlying, almost like of trafficking.
Yeah.
That with those opening shots of the girls all being lined up and being pulled apart and the screaming, and like that to me read very strongly of like children being trafficked and the horrors associated with that. And so that was like a good strong connection to make us think, okay, the Red Room is really bad. Like we knew it was bad, but now we're going to find out how terrible it was. And then we really don't get anything, as you were saying. I mean, we have Yelena talking about like the forced sterilization that they have to go under, but Nat already mentioned that in previous videos when she talked, I think had a conversation with Bruce about how she can't have children. So that's old news. Like, and they did such a great job of introducing the Red Room in the Peggy Carter TV show with Dottie. So I was hoping for more of that, and we didn't really get that. One of the points that someone had brought up in another review.
I think we got you frozen there for a minute. We can hear you, but you're frozen.
That all the women, because they were trained in the same program, they all behave the same ways. It all.
Oh, yeah. Hold on a minute. I think we got a little internet. We are cursed here with internet connections. It's always one of us that seems to have some bad line. I think we've talked crap about Comcast too much and Spectrum, and they hate us now. So
I'll jump in and say that if this had been a ground level, literally, movie where the Red Room was literally on the ground and they didn't need to make it this big spectacle in the sky, because that was what it was for. It was. We put it in the sky so we can watch it fall to the ground and fall and everything. And I think that if they had kept it street level, like the Widow works, have the Crimson Guard, have it a base. Have it a base. Like the one that they got him out of. They got him out of the prison. Go to another place. It's like an underground facility. Crimson Guardian can go in there, fight up top, and distract everybody while the three girls go in.
You mean he could be useful?
Huh?
I said, you mean he could be useful?
Yeah, and have him be the big guy causing all the damage up top. Well, they're doing subterfuge underneath, and we could see the real school and what's really going on, and all these really interesting. Well, maybe not. That's interesting is the wrong word, but like just how awful this situation was for them, and how they're there to liberate these girls from this horrible program, and it's not just some giant Me Too movement in the sky. And I just, the family aspect was so well done that I just think that if they just focused on that instead of having to do where everything ends in some great big spectacle. You could have had good spectacle, just not that big, and you would have saved yourself some money CGI wise, probably. And it would have been more about character and giving these characters a good send off.
Well, and it would have tied in more of who Black Widow again is. Combat, short, attacking, subterfuge, not falling out of skies, not, being dropped down buildings and hitting everything on the way down and then just getting right back up like, oh, sorry. Sort of threw something out there. Or if you're going to do that, then include the story that she was experimented on chemically and maybe that's why she's tougher than other widows. And there are so many interesting places you could have gone. Even the story aspect or the family aspect. Okay, they were together for 3 years and then it was like 20 since they've seen each other at all. did they for how does Yelena know all about what's up with Natasha as an Avenger and stuff if she's being mind controlled? Would Natasha really have forgotten about all of that? Would there not have been mentioned? Would the Red Room have stopped it all? Was it not picked back up? Sorry, again, I start getting into the questions, but the whole family concept, I like that. But the fact they haven't seen each other for 20 years, I mean, even if those couple of years when they were kids was kind of real, it seems really stretching to make those connections. And they seem to expect us to just accept it.
Well, how about I put it? I'll give you an example of like how I understand this. Because I haven't seen a lot of my family in 20 years, and the years that we had, some pretty crazy stuff happened, and even though we haven't seen each other in 20 years, like, and we don't keep tabs, like, but we don't contact each other, but we all kind of keep tabs on each other. Like, I know certain things that they'd be surprised that I know. So it's not completely like illogical or anything. But I do think that a lot of stuff that will stick with you, and I feel like they really should have. God, I'm like painting myself into a corner here. Sorry, my head cold is really starting to get to me.
No. I'm sorry.
No, that if they had just focused on that instead of getting all over the place with other things, I don't think any of that really would have bothered me at all. The other thing is Taskmaster.
Yeah.
When you say that,
go right in, man.
Why did he even need anybody else when he's got Taskmaster? And that whole, like, I said to some people, I know what they were going for with that, and some people like don't know who Taskmaster is, which is fine, but that was not Taskmaster. That was, and I don't even know if I want to call that the MCU's version of Taskmaster. I almost want to say that this guy.
It's the Deadpool from Wolverine Origins.
Yeah, there you go. It's like they just like I want to believe in my brain. This is how I'm writing this Taskmaster's backstory. Besides where she spoilers came from, is I almost feel like the guy. Ray Winston's character is like, there is a Taskmaster that runs, he does this, and what if we just make our own? Because that was not Taskmaster. He gave him basically her the same abilities, but he's doing it through like weird ass technology. Taskmaster does that. He just knows. He watches somebody and he knows. It doesn't have this backstory of a blown up daughter and just to add a bit more drama to the whole tragedy of the thing. And the fact that it's Olga Kurylenko, who is a pretty decent actress. She's gorgeous, but like she doesn't get to talk. She's just there in a suit to have the mask come off and feel bad about. And I just really, really awful for that actress and for anybody who does not know that character, who really likes that character, just going, man, I don't even know. Like,
yeah.
There's got to be a different version of that character coming somewhere down the pipe. Like I would love for the real Taskmaster to have like watched like some video of like news footage of seeing this Taskmaster and be like, the fuck? Like, I got to go over there and like find out who's like, taking my IP.
Sure.
Hey. Sorry about that. I lost internet for I don't know what happened. It was the Red Room. They were trying to get me to not talk.
Yeah. See, we make a lot of enemies here. We were talking about your thoughts there on the Red Room story and the usage of the kids. I think is that where we were at?
Yes, yeah. I was talking about like the link with trafficking, but then how that never really played out throughout the film. Like I never felt that there was a real threat, at least with the main villain or the guy that was running the Red Room. I never felt that he was a threat. I just, he showed up and I wanted to start laughing. I'm like, seriously, you're running this? Really? Like it wasn't like any of the Hydra villains we've seen on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. who really make your skin crawl.
No,
I just didn't feel like he was a threat. And I mean, I had a discussion with a friend that maybe it's because he's not physically a threat. He is intellectually a threat. Like he controls everything and runs everything, but I don't know.
Really bad.
But again, he also just sort of says that in a thing. We don't get any feel of what his manipulations are or what those effects are. I mean, we're told a few things, but we don't really experience it.
Don't tell.
Sense. Yeah.
Right? Yes. And you guys were discussing Taskmaster?
We were. Let me jump into the comments here real quick, and then we'll jump back to Taskmaster because it does hit on. April Lee mentions that she hated that they were controlled. The girls were controlled by weird chemicals instead of being coerced by propaganda from a very young age and trained to be assassins, which is what she assumed the Red Room was from Agent Carter. And and they did talk about there was psychological and this was a new thing.
Yeah.
But again, boring.
Yeah.
Let's see. April mentions it would have hit harder if there were kids on site when Nat and the crew arrived instead of just the adult versions of the trained assassins. Exactly. Yeah. Wouldn't be dropping the Red Room then if it was full of kids.
Would have been funny, though.
That really would have been. You see Anakin in the background, I'll take care of this. Shh.
Oh, dear.
Richard mentioned... that was awesome.
There were like 100 kids on that thing when it crashed.
No, they all got off on helicopter, the magical helicopter.
Oh yeah.
Richard mentions always seems like Marvel movie wants to make a statement that never goes to the dark places to do so. Yeah, that's Disney for you. D, there's a better comparison of Taskmaster situation than the Mandarin from Iron Man 3. Yes, but he was a false. Also, the fact that again, Taskmaster, if I remember from the comics, has a bit of a personality that he's robbed of his personality, his voice. I don't mind the gender swap for Taskmaster. I'm fine with setting up some backstory if this was a motivating force, if there was a reason that she was a perfect mimic, if there was any reason why he's been trained in all the ways that the Avengers fight, outside of a shield being thrown and that one shot with an arrow, who cares? It was just another martial artist.
Yeah. Why? To what end? To what purpose? Right?
There was no. If you're going to do that, then you have like multiple fighting saves, multiple people attack at the same time. You say have Red Guardian actually be useful outside of just a joke, and every time he does one thing and then he gets his ass kicked and then it flips over.
Yes.
Oh God, I hated that so much.
It frustrated me too because to me, I just felt like we were reversing time to like the 90s or like the late 80s when it was the sitcom dad was the joke. It was like the Homer Simpson who can't do anything right, and we just sort of seeing that in every single sitcom where the dad is the butt of the joke or the guy is the incompetent butt of the joke, and it's the woman who has to come in and fix everything. And as a woman, I hate that because I don't want to be surrounded by guys who are incompetent. Like I want to have a team with me I want a Steve Rogers, not a Red Guardian. Like why didn't she get a Steve Rogers?
Well, still, that's fine. Balance it. You can have him be the butt or the incompetent or the one who wants to be the hero but isn't there, but then give him his moment to do it and not a fight that you go start, cut off screen, go back, he's thrown through and then hits a door and it's over. It's like...
Yes, Rob.
Why was he was so competent at the beginning of this movie. Cool, calm, collected, did what had to be done. He was not a joke. And then he 20 years later, because he was immediately put in jail, or soon after put in jail, he just becomes a farce. He becomes a satire of himself, and he never regains competency in the entire movie. He does not.
He also doesn't regain his.
Give him that little moment with her where they sing American Pie, which I freaking hate that song. They had 2 songs in here that I did not appreciate them using. One was Smells Like Teen Spirit, and then American Pie, which I just don't like. And they gave, but he was still acting the simp, like the guy from a sitcom. Oh, we'll just do this and everything will be all better.
He's like, Natasha, I need to tell you something. She's like, you don't have an ear plug. like,
you know what those feel like, right? When something's in your ear.
Yeah,
Yeah, so he never ever had a chance to really go back to the way he was. Everybody else got to have that reconnection and a feeling of that, and he just still bumbled through everything. And he's supposed to be a super soldier still.
Yeah,
he can
lost
still
his command of the English language.
He's tough, and he's and Taskmaster is just throwing him around.
Why is he continually speaking pidgin English when he's fluent enough to pass as an American?
Yes. All of a sudden it just turns into Boris.
Toilet on my hand. Went toilet. You know what piss is, right? You're in America. You lived in America for 3 years.
Yeah.
I know the comedy, it works well, and the character, it's funny, but it is also illogical.
The training that it takes for them before they even come over here for the 3 years. Okay?
Yeah.
Because, again, going back to that show, The Americans, they spent their entire lives becoming these people.
Yeah.
They were trained to be soldiers and assassins and spies, and then they were trained in counterintelligence and how to blend in. These are perfect people who can blend in perfectly.
Counter what?
Know everything that they
intelligence.
Know. Then he goes to prison and he's all, duh.
There was intelligence involved? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay, I got another question. Okay, they went to him to get, where's the Red Room? Because they know he's been in prison and they haven't seen this guy, but apparently he's going to know where the Red Room is. Why doesn't Yelena know she's working for them? She's been there, doesn't she? That's where the Red Room is. She should know.
Apparently, when you get cherry Kool-Aid splashed in your face like dust, that it erases everything that you knew.
That you need to know.
Apparently.
I thought the rule was that when the girls were taken, they were drugged on entry into the Red Room and they were drugged on exit, so they never knew where it was.
Well, yeah, but you have to fill that in.
Yeah, well, that's one of the complaints I had for this film, was that it was so jumpy and it was
requires you, yes,
piecemeal, that there were times where things were happening and I had no idea. It took me the whole film and then 30 minutes after the film to be like, oh, that's what that was. Okay, yeah, they could have explained that better. It was just so. It was like a child had cut up the plot line.
If Yelena was in the Red Room and she just got freed, how does she know Natasha's contact guy for safe rooms? And how does she know about Budapest if she's been drugged this whole time? Maybe if she thought about it, but why would she really know that Natasha wouldn't go back there? How does she know to go ahead and leave stuff that will be delivered to Natasha, but assume Natasha will know about it, despite the fact that she doesn't leave a note saying what it's about and was in fact in with the stuff that was about to get thrown in the trash anyway? If Taskmaster waited 5 minutes, he could have picked the stuff up and the whole thing would have been done.
Yeah. And then they pull an Indiana Jones where it's like, you don't think my son would be stupid enough to bring the diary back with me?
Of course. Why not? You didn't leave a note. You didn't tell me this was magical shit to take to Tony Stark. And also, okay, she knows she's in the Red Room, but she's her sister, and she's definitely concerned enough to go back and find her, and yet she's also worried enough to pull a gun. Have they run into each other since? Well, is there any other
Wouldn't the Red Room control any information she has?
That's what I'm saying. It just
she wouldn't know about Budapest anymore. They'd have removed all of knowledge of her sister. But
Unless
I guess we're supposed to believe in the subtext that somewhere deep down inside she never stopped fighting.
Or
she's certainly enough to create a whole backstory.
Or when she's free from the Red Room with that mist, she actually can look up Natasha, because she says she's seen the Avengers fighting, or she's come across something because she's aware of them. She knows Natasha's an Avenger. So I'm assuming she just hacked into like S.H.I.E.L.D. files and read everything up on her sister.
You have to fill in all of these blanks.
Yep.
That shouldn't need you to do that.
Also, that fight scene between Yelena and Natasha. You're going there to find information from her. You want to see her. Why are you now suddenly fighting with her?
So the audience knows that they're equally matched.
Yeah, it's all to set up Florence Pugh later.
Yeah.
And the thing that pisses me off is that I want to be so mad, but Florence Pugh is such a great actress, and she's got charm oozing off of her for days. The only flaw I see in this actress is that she dates Zach Braff. So I wanted to be mad at her character being the replacement for Black Widow, but she kills it. But they had to put all that stuff in there to get everybody used to the idea. To get everybody, this is what she's capable of. So don't worry. You're going to have another girl fighter coming up real soon in the next.
Maybe we'll be even pay attention to her.
The thing that annoyed me about that is I have no problem being mad about it. I have absolutely no problem being mad about it, because all of these these female characters, like obviously Natasha and Yelena, and then the mother character whose name I am blanking on at the moment, they've all been trained in the Red Room. They're all Black Widows. They've all gone through the same programming. So the result of that is basically we're getting a whole bunch of strong female characters in a film that are duplicates of each other. What makes them different? What makes them unique? If they can all do what Black Widow can do, then why do we need Black Widow? What makes her so special? Now suddenly it's just duplicates of Black Widows. And
because Florence Pugh doesn't like the posing, and she doesn't do the jump on the head spin. She does the grab the neck spin and cut low. See, she goes low while Natasha went high. So they're different.
Yeah. So, yeah. Nope.
Can we also talk about how she's probably a good 6 inches or so? Like, they're shorter. She's shorter than her, too. They keep making these characters that don't have superpowers smaller and smaller. And they keep taking on people that are bigger and bigger. And I'm sorry, but the human body.
Well, see, like I said, there was a point here where they could have explained why Natasha was tougher and could fall if they were and there was chemical experiments done. She's not a super soldier, but we tried some stuff, because obviously Red Guardian and Red Room guy know each other. So maybe there would have been but they missed that. And now it stands out that she hits everything on a 10-story fall and is fine. She's good.
It was like Johnny Depp falling from the cliff in Pirates 2. Right? He falls all the way down and he hits everything on the way down, and this was.
Yeah.
They do it so they go, oh, well, but his momentum was slowed by all the other stuff that he ran, fell, hit on the way down. But you're still hitting stuff on the way down. It's not
broken leg,
every single thing. Oh,
concussion.
There goes a rabbit.
Dislocated shoulders, sprained ankle, anything. Coming down like that and landing like a superhero. She should have been walking away limping.
Yeah,
and again,
your ankles.
If you're Iron Man, great. If you're the Hulk, great. If you're a superhero, if you're Captain Marvel, great. There's a reason why you can take that damage, and you have less powerful creatures to have that difference. If everybody's the same, there is no difference. What is the difference between a super soldier and Black Widow if they could both do the same things?
And we have seen that they can't, because in that confrontation between Bucky and Steve, when Nat's trying to help out, you know, she's shooting that huge gun from the side of a vehicle, clearly injured. Like, I'm done now. I'm so done. Like, could you please stop trying to kill each other? I'm in the middle of this fight here too. You know, like, I would rather see her strength be her ingenuity, like her flexibility, her manipulation, and just her, you know, like gymnastic skills, essentially.
Was Winter Soldier a better Black Widow movie than Black Widow's own movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Civil War was a better Black Widow movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Her strengths are in her like spy craft. So use her for that, and her intelligence. And I mean, the two moments that I enjoyed of the film where I saw what could have been for the whole film if we had had that for the whole film was when she manipulates the main villain, whose name I can't even remember now.
Right.
In that confrontation, and you realize at the end that she's just been playing the scared, weak, shocked, you know, oh no, like you really do have control over me. I can't do anything, you know. She's been playing that role, and then she gives that line of thank you for your cooperation, which is a throwback to the Loki, and you're like, oh, this is what she's doing. And then when she smashes her head into the desk, I'm like, that's hardcore. That's the Nat I know. Yes, that's totally something Natasha would do, and then take him down. So that scene, that I loved. And the fact that we thought the mother was betraying them, and then it turns out like, no, this was all a plan. That I loved, because I didn't see that coming.
But they didn't have to go back and show us all that. That was the one time that they actually didn't need to explain it to us. All right? Is that they didn't need to go and show all the flashbacks to it's like when they show in a heist movie how they did the heist. That's different. You have to actually see that stuff to see how they pulled it off. But in this, you understand what happened. But they don't think enough of us and to the intelligence of the audience to know to pick that up. So they got to talk to the people, the like 5% that are out there going, oh, and so that's
when did she know that?
Filming a bunch of crap that is unnecessary. When it's like, we get it. Oh, she has the mask on. That means, oh, I mean, if the woman that was looking like Scarlet was anybody other than her mother, like if it was like I don't know, anyone, if it was Steve Rogers or something, then we'd all go, how'd that happen? But we know it's her mother. And so that's all we needed. But all the other stuff that they make us fill in the blanks, make us jump to all these little wide conclusions and say, oh, well, if you think about it, I don't want to have to think about it. It's your job to tell me in those situations.
Yeah.
But not in this one. They thought it would be, they did it so that they could say they were being clever when really they were talking down to the people in the audience, saying, this is how stupid we think some of you are. You have to have it spelled completely out for you. Otherwise, you're going to leave the theater going, well, how do I do the switcheroo?
Yeah. Also, they had the best opportunity to do a great prison break thing. Like, they could have taken the stuff they did with, like, Captain America Civil War and Captain America Endgame and, like, those kind of high-stakes missions. They could have done that with the prison break, you know, with actually getting boots on the ground and letting Natasha do her spy stuff. Instead, we've got Yelena piloting a helicopter very badly.
Indestructible helicopter.
Nearly killing people, nearly killing her own team, and then shooting the world's largest gun into the side of the building, knowing they're surrounded by they're in Avalanche territory. Like, I'm like, how is this woman graduated from a spy intelligence program?
Well, she is a little crazy, so I'd go with that. But no, it seemed like a very poorly planned and executed prison break. They're like, get out,
any plan?
Run. And
it sounds like the whole movie. You just described the whole movie.
There was no plan. It was just, Loki.
And that helicopter is the scene of the crime, the worst crime in the movie to me. In that helicopter, which is when they deliver the lines where they turn the forcible removing of females' reproductive organs and turn it into a joke.
Yeah.
See, I actually bought that.
I was like, I know that they're trying to own this by talking, like reverse mansplaining to the guy.
Yeah.
But I don't find that on a helicopter when they're trying to get away, this is the best time to make jokes about describing in great detail of what they did to them and just being so glib about it and to something so horrific. And to know that it happened to her and her sister and all those other girls, and it's used as a joke.
As a joke.
Sure.
Because we couldn't discuss it in any kind of serious nature, like where they could have had a discussion with their a pseudo father about, didn't you know that they were going to do this to us? What did you think that, didn't you realize that they were going to remove our ability to have children and actually have a moment, like talk about that instead of singing American Pie?
Yeah.
It just shows like how little I feel like they thought about any of this. And while it might not be the worst thing in the world, I couldn't believe it. I was beyond cringing at that point.
I can say that Marvel does this movie especially avoids any real emotional depth, though they like to try and walk up to the edge. The American Pie scene being another one, which then turns into the "I can protect you as a dad." No, we'll have the joke multiple shots and drop over again.
All we needed in that scene to make it complete was for him to fart when he fell.
Yeah. That would have been the topper. That would have been a complete X-Men movie right there.
And they could have redeemed that. They could have actually given him some depth there, and have maybe he didn't know what was going to happen, and then maybe that's the moment when he actually realizes what they put his girls through. Because he starts off the beginning of the film saying, "My girls are the strongest girls in like the world," and and he's just the proud father. And so if we could twist that and have it be like he had no idea what he was sending these girls off to, that would have been a great scene. That
would have been more interesting. And to be honest, like I said, I didn't mind the glibness of the forced sterilization discussion. One is we had a more emotional reveal of that from
with Bruce and
with Bruce in Age of Ultron. Yeah. And to me, this is the opposite. This is Florence Pugh's character. This is Yelena's. I think I heard someone describe her as a gleeful psychopath. And to me, this is where it is for her. There's no filter. There is no expectation. There is no quietness. Everything is thrown right back in everyone's face. So the fact that she might find some dark humor in this when he's trying to be like, "Oh, you're on the rag. Oh no, see, I can't be on the rag. No. See, it can't happen because everything was sort of pulled out." That anger thing I took just really as more of a character bit from Yelena of why she would do that, and less than. But I know a lot of people have been very sensitive on that particular discussion, and it is an odd. of all the choices that are made, it's another just one of those odd choices of why did we even bother with this when we could have gone other directions?
The length that joke went on, it was like a bad Family Guy goes on too long joke.
That I would definitely agree with.
It's the version of that, like that joke where it's just like, oh God, stop. You should have stopped like 3 sentences ago.
Yeah, you went 3 steps too far.
It's like the I just got out of prison joke and I have a lot of energy. It's like, oh my word, really? Like,
yeah, but see, again, now that works because he's supposed to be the stupid, uncomfortable father, and we've got the kids now that are watching the parents now talk about sex, which is so it's a little sophomoric, sure, but it does at least fit into character there. April Lee mentions Yelena copes by using humor.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the doctor said in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. about Skye, right? That humor and sarcasm are a distancing mechanism.
Sure. Exactly.
And then I better...
I have a question.
What's it myself here?
I think we all need therapy after this movie in the last few years.
How exactly did the general and his daughter survive the explosion?
And how did Fury not know?
And he doesn't even seem to be marked. She's got a little thing. Also, why use the explosion if you could obviously look inside the window there? You could have, I don't know, missiled it. That would have helped. You dropped a whole building, so I'm really curious on the survival bit. Now, that would
be a real blow to find out that the thing that, you've been, Budapest has been this big thing for the character in her back of her mind, but realizing all the terrible things that she did on that day were for nothing.
It kind of robs her of her purpose, and it cheapens her character, I felt.
Also, it seems odd. Okay, so your entry from leaving the evil Red Room into the more noble S.H.I.E.L.D. is to bomb a kid to take out the bad guy. I don't know. I mean, Fury's pretty dark, but I don't think he'd really go with that. And also, I think, look, I'm not saying you have to always have the other Marvel characters in, but if you're going to have a movie, shouldn't Hawkeye at least been in a flashback in this movie? When you're talking about Budapest, he's Fury. Yeah. I mean, again, this transition to S.H.I.E.L.D., this move was a big thing. These were your family. Heck, she knows Barton's kid. She basically killed herself to protect his family and get his family back. Who put up the tombstone? Daughter, sister, Avenger. You would have thought that, Barton and them would have met.
Yeah.
Who else knows? The Avengers apparently didn't know about this family. So it had to be Yelena. Is this a quiet? People put stuff out there, though, so it seems sort of public and known.
Oh my God!
We know it's mentioned. They mentioned the Midwest, so I'm assuming she was buried in Ohio.
Yeah, if I say you think a little bit about this stuff, and it falls apart.
Yeah.
So they should all know about her.
They should. There should have been like a family funeral thing, and that would have been, and it would have been
unless Yelena's the one that
know about Yelena
put up the tombstone. Right? If Yelena, but I don't know.
Yes, but again,
it just falls apart again.
There's stuff, it seems, while it's quiet, definitely not the Tony Stark level of fanfare, there's stuff around. It doesn't look like it's just from Yelena and stuff. Looks like there's other pictures and things. So I'm assuming this is kind of known. I mean,
and we haven't even talked about Rachel Weisz. We were talking about she doesn't show up until the movie's almost over.
And the morally gray area that the whole time she's been the scientist helping to create the Red Room. How messed up is that?
Oh yeah, and of course, how does David Harbour know where her place is? I guess she kept his uniform the whole time because apparently that was just in the back, unwashed, which is also kind of gross. So they were together, but
the sky also when they just run out of gas, they just fall completely.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Really?
That's just come on.
Why didn't they? You know what they should have put in there is like when he said like how long it like they should have done a SpongeBob like 2 hours later and then just boom.
Yeah, that would have been that was a complete comic. I mean, that's top secret right there. Val Kilmer should have come out of there with a freaking cow and boots
And a skeet rifle.
Yeah. It's uneven, folks. Look, and again, I like it. David Harbour's hilarious. I would still watch him in this. I would still, all the back little character stuff, even if it doesn't make sense, is entertaining. It just doesn't. Why? Why do they do it?
I don't know.
This is like the Last Jedi of the Marvel movies. Yeah. Where I watched except when I left The Last Jedi, I had convinced myself that it was an all right movie. And
it's half an all right movie.
And then and as the week went on, I just was like, oh my God. And it's basically almost the same experience here where I'm like, I enjoyed myself while I was watching it. And I was trying to turn off all the alarms in my head, like just going, shut up and just watch it and then think about it later. And it just, I couldn't though. But the thing is unlike Last Jedi, I couldn't even leave the theater without being like, oh my God, this movie has so many issues. And it just keeps compounding until here we are like a week later. And it's more, I have more complaints with this than I even had with that.
Yeah. April in the chat also mentioning, as close as Clint and Nat were, you'd think she would have mentioned her Russia family.
Yes.
Even that they weren't really sisters, like.
I mean, he'd want to know where she got that smacking jacket, right? That vest with all the pockets. You always want to know, where did she get that awesome vest? At least
also,
now we know.
The guy that was like her go-to person for weapons and info and stuff, apparently he was S.H.I.E.L.D., but he left when S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of dissolved. So wouldn't someone have known what Nat was doing? Wouldn't somebody at S.H.I.E.L.D. have been aware of what was going on?
Well, Clint was on the raft, right?
Yeah, he did. He stayed on the raft, and then he got the bracelet, and then he went insane.
Yeah.
So he had a little bit of difference. I mean, again, I can kind of buy that, but again, how does Yelena know him then? Yeah. He's ex-S.H.I.E.L.D. Why would she know the contact in the Budapest? And I knew you wouldn't come here. What? Questions.
We are led to assume that Yelena is already working for the same team that the new Cap is working for.
By the end credits.
Yes, by the end credits. You said you enjoyed the humor. I watched the whole film, and I don't think I laughed once.
That seems fair.
I'm waiting for the jokes. I'm waiting because Civil War had funny moments, and Captain America: Winter Soldier had funny moments. And
I remember one laugh, and it probably shouldn't have been something I found funny. I don't mean the movie was like unintentionally making me laugh. Is when she almost killed the pig by making it stop breathing.
Yes.
Oh.
And I'm watching the pig, and it falls over, and they're just like, "Are you gonna help the pig?" And I that's when I laughed, was because I actually thought that her disconnect, the way she's describing things, this is how she talks. This is how she is gonna explain things to them, is by almost killing this poor innocent pig. And I actually laughed because it's darkly funny. It took a risk. People don't like seeing animals suffer, and I laughed. That was about it. That was about the only laugh I got. I mean, unintentional. Well, no, that's just my personality. But jokes that I was supposed to laugh at, I did not laugh at even once.
Yeah.
All right, I got to jump into Rich's comment because, this is another big thing. One big thing that bothers him about this movie, did Natasha get captured by General Ross at the end, but then went on the run again? Yes. Okay, and this is... this is actually an annoying part to me about the filmmaking process. This particular film is, yes, she seems to give herself up, and then suddenly 2 weeks later, she is out, blonde hair, getting a Quinjet to go bust her pals out of prison. Does it feel like there's a missing scene there? A lot of people say yes. The director intentionally left that unknown so that we as an audience could try and wonder what she did. Did she make a deal with Ross? Did she do something? Look,
we're supposed to just believe that she was captured and did like her little, just got out of it and ended up taking one of the, throwing the guys out of the Jeep and driving off. All of a sudden, it's like, where's Natasha? She was supposed to be, we thought you had her. Well, I didn't have her. You had her. But I also see like I would love to see like a Benny Hill thing where she's just like just running around them, and they're all running like fast around. She's just like, because they don't want to shoot her, they want to arrest her, and so it's just and.
Sorry, speaking of fast, did anybody catch the sped up scene during the explosion?
Oh yeah.
Why? And for those of you who didn't catch, when she is downloading the information on the little disc of the Red Room stuff, which, would have been useful to give to Ross as a bargaining chip of good stuff that you could do. For some reason, they speed up the frame rate while the explosions are going in the back room. If you can watch, she does that little, like, I'm on cocaine movement, like they did in the old, like, Babe Ruth films. And I have no idea why. Why would they speed any of this up? I mean, the explosions are all CGI. It makes... it was distracting. I'm like, why? Why are you doing 1970s camera work here?
Speaking of, like, scenes that didn't make sense, when she's like, all the Black Widows come into the room to fight her, I'm going, why are you going at her one at a time? There's a fight scene going on, and there's like 12 of them standing around, like they're having a little conversation here, like, hey, what's the newest type of bubble gum you're gonna buy? Like, this is a fight. Why aren't they all rushing her at once?
Yeah, that's an all boys
movie, though. But
yeah, that is a huge problem when they want to do all these big danger, and it's very rare that you get discussions. At least in a lot of the Japanese films, they have guys moving like they're getting in position or they're waiting for an opening, so at least they're moving and it looks like they're involved. Well, yeah, they're like standing in the background, like just literally waiting for their turn to run in.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only time I was worried for Natasha was when Taskmaster was after her, especially when she was driving at night and the car blew up and there was that bridge scene.
Oh, the first establishment scene. Yeah.
That was great. Like, I mean, it was a little bit off, but I was actually worried. I thought, okay, here's somebody who can mimic her, who can copy any, person who's been trained, can do, basically anything. At first I thought maybe he's robotic. Maybe he's like a advanced robot that has just knows everything and do it.
They Terminated him.
How can she fight against that? Now I'm worried. And then, I don't know. The other thing that bothered me was when we figured out that it was the daughter, it looks like a guy in a stunt outfit with a woman's head on top.
Tiny little head inside this big bodied suit.
So the whole time we're seeing the character masked, I'm thinking it's got to be a guy because the way he's moving or the person is moving is very clunky, unless it's a suit similar to, say, the Iron Man suit, where even when Pepper's in it, she's still moving very clunkily.
But again,
why did she have to be Taskmaster?
Yes!
Why couldn't she just be a burn face victim where he rolls out at the end? You want to see my daughter? Well, I've been saving her for last. That kind of thing. Like, Taskmaster could have been his own thing that they deal with on the side, and she could have been like the one that you thought you killed her. Well, no, we gotta use her somehow. So let's make her iconic. It's Olga Kurylenko. I mean, they they have a hard time, right? Like they always have people taking off their masks so we can see the actor, right? Whatever they have, they always have to make sure we see the star.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's a famous actress. Why would you want to cover her up in a suit and make it sound like, I mean, she's not that famous. Let me tell you, okay, we'll be clear on that. You want her to be seen so that she gets more recognition as an actress.
Yeah.
Not cover her up and give her no lines.
This way they can use her again. Because you didn't really see her and she didn't talk. They could use her again down the road.
Oh, God.
That's what I'm afraid of, honestly, is they're making those choices. Because, again, it wasn't great.
Taskmaster's going to be good now? Like,
they've got to redeem every villain. Okay, by the way, I just wanted to say this before. First off, pheromones don't work that way. It would you would just not want to throw a punch at them, not be unable to. Two, if that is your defense mechanism, people that get punched in the face a lot, like assassins, I mean, it seems like that would be kind of a 50-50 on your own people anyway at that point. I mean, that doesn't, you break a nose and that pheromone stuff, darn it. I should have thought this through.
Yeah, just have it be a chip in their brain or something. I mean, oh my goodness.
Yeah, like they did with Spike on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He couldn't hurt Buffy. He was just because he had a chip in his brain.
I mean, I get that, but it just starts to, again, it's so you can have that big scene of the thank you for your cooperation, and I'll do that. Which again, I like. It's fine.
It's a good scene.
But then you're like, yeah, but people get punched in the face a lot, I would imagine. That doesn't seem like a good one.
Okay, so then the post-credits scene.
Okay.
So we can kind of wrap this up because I think we've pretty much now we're just
harping.
We're not just beating a dead horse, right? Like we're mocking its children as we do it. Look what we doing to this dead horse. That's right.
We wanted it to be good.
No, but
let me just say about Yelena, I would not trust her to save my life in any situation because she's just so bad at everything she's doing. She's blowing things up and not in an intentional way or in the wrong way. And yeah.
She's a little Loki.
And
Loki.
How is she like the number one assassin with the way she does things?
Child assassin. So I'm thinking like as
years
a child,
she lost that
their
title.
Best, She was top of her class in grade 2.
It's before she was free to tell jokes. When she was programmed and she couldn't tell jokes, then she was much more effective.
Oh, don't bring up a Deadpool.
Yeah.
Reference.
Sorry. Anyway, post-credit scene, because, we got to wrap this up.
Okay.
Yeah, so that sucked. That sucked. And I know what they tried to do. First, they tried to fool you, all right? They tried to make you think when she whistled
that Black Widow would show up.
Black Widow is going to whistle back. Don't tell me nobody thought about it.
I wish that had been what happened.
Callback, and then we'd see her, and then there would be the people going, see, death doesn't matter in these Marvel movies, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, you just go fucking review whatever else. We like our movies like this. We like our heroes to come back. That's why we read them, okay?
Yeah.
That's comic books.
Yeah, we're fine with that.
Right? This isn't freaking, Brian De Palma or Martin Scorsese. This is comic books. And everybody comes back, and there's only a few people that never do. Bruce Wayne's parents, Ben Parker, whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if she had whistled back, that would have been amazing. I wouldn't have been disappointed. It would have just been going,
oh, finally something right.
But instead, it's just, and I love her, but I don't love her, and I don't really, I'm not sure how I feel about how they're using her here, and that's Julia Louis-Dreyfus showing up. And she's obviously setting up her own team,
Mhm.
And I guess this would be now. I don't think it's the Young Avengers either. I think this is the Dark Avengers.
This is the Disney Plus Avengers, is what
Or-
she's setting up.
It's the character from the earlier Hulk movies. Apparently, he also has a team.
Well, I mean, Ross has a team eventually.
He's got the Thunderbolts.
Yes, that's
which
what
they
I
may be. Which this could be a potential setup of. She could be working for Ross potentially. I mean,
which could bring in Red Hulk
Mm-hmm.
and others and potential stuff. But U.S. Agent, I almost wanted to think that they were setting up West Coast Avengers. But this still feels very DC. I don't mean DC Comics. I mean Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So she's a politician, so I would think that they're trying to set up a new Avengers. Now, maybe it is Young Avengers, but nobody's gonna. When you roll out U.S. Agent, they're gonna remember that he was Captain America for a second before he fucking
Murdered.
killed.
Yeah. No, I honestly I think Thunderbolts would be a lot more likely considering this. They've already got U.S. Agent. Ross, as you can see, was looking a little more sickly. They're talking about prostate cancer or something that the character has been fighting, which would lay into if he was doing something experimental and becomes the Red Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
We've got, we of course have what's his name, Zemo, in the raft as well, and he was another Thunderbolts agent. So you've got some potential setups for this, which could be cool.
And Taskmaster.
Talk that maybe it's Zemo in the raft who is pulling the strings, setting up the Thunderbolts.
It could be.
But,
so then are they trying to get their Suicide Squad?
Basically, yeah, it's the Marvel Suicide Squad.
Yeah, for sure. They're going to get Gunn back. So, I mean, it's entirely possible.
I like that Yelena said she looked desperate. I was like, oh, finally a good line.
And you're right. We didn't talk much about Melina in this, and that's because Rachel Weisz can do no wrong. So everything she did in this was great. Honestly, her favorite line is, "I am obviously injured." At the very end, which she's just like, yeah, you could just say that, sit down, read the phone book. I'd be perfectly happy with watching that. Anyway.
I'm just sad that basically with Yelena, we're getting like discount Black Widow. Like, we're not going to give you the real Black Widow because we killed her off. But here, take someone who was raised in the same program, does the exact same moves, kind of looks the same, and is technically her sister.
But she's younger.
Be happy.
So it's better.
Like, really?
We could use her for a few more years.
Only young people are good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I love Florence Pugh, and I did enjoy the character, so I don't want to look at it like a discount Black Widow, but I mean, it kind of is, and it's yeah.
And I know, maybe best case scenario is they write her some great material, and she grows into a character that we love, like say Skye in the first bits of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Some people weren't too sure about her, and then by season 2 and 3, everybody loves her.
Well, I think we're going to see her, though, right in the Hawkeye series.
Yeah, it sounds like from that connection would be perfect, and that would be a driving force for whatever, his training with Kate Bishop.
Which will be cool to see, them, having Florence Pugh, making her big, showing up for the first time on the big screen and then going to the small screen.
Yeah.
Which really shows that they really will try anything as far as, when they'll use people. You just never know. I mean, they had said something about Hemsworth being supposed to be in Loki. He never showed up except for, I think they were fooling us with the credit, the main title thing with the...
No, he did.
From work.
He did show up. He was the voice of Frog Thor. When you pan down, you hear him going, get out, or something. That's actually Chris Hemsworth doing the voice of Frog Thor.
All right, I stand corrected.
Yeah, but yeah, I know. It's like, that's not really showing up. That's having fun.
I mean, okay, my random wild guess is that is that potentially maybe we have Yelena in the Thunderbolts, then she realizes things aren't going so well, so then she becomes like a double agent reporting back to S.H.I.E.L.D. and whatnot on what the Thunderbolts are doing.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think they'll use her word again. Look, the movie is a side piece. It is a tack on. It is an in addition. It is unimportant. It doesn't contribute anything to the greater lore of the MCU outside of introducing one or two characters. It's completely optional. Now, those characters will get into the MCU and they'll be taken care of in the land of multiple coats of shininess, that they'll pay attention and not just have a director that literally will leave scenes wanting the audience to fill it in themselves. Because, hey, that's what we go to movies for, a make your own adventure.
Yeah, no. And apparently the director had only worked on a few films previously and all of them were independent. I'm not sure if you guys talked about this when I was...
No, we didn't bring that up. Yeah, and again, not to harp on independent filmmakers, and please, we need more female filmmakers. You got to get them from somewhere. Please give them this opportunity. I'm not giving judgment on that outside of, I don't think there was the attention and understanding paid to this film that Marvel audiences expect.
Yeah. And we're not happy. We're not happy to say that. Like, we all wanted this to be a great film. We all wanted to have like an Iron Man, you know, like to capture that essence. And
look, I'm going to buy the Blu-ray. It's going to be in my collection. The movie, again, as much as we're harping on it, I'm not saying this was a horrible movie. I think it's a fully serviceable action film. Just as a Marvel property, it's lacking a lot that damn it, it's lacking
when you start to
quality
make Thor the Dark World look really good.
Damn it, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, please thank you everyone for watching this long, rambling, very harsh review. We appreciate that. Rich Room, April E. jumping in here live. Everyone joining us in the chat. Corrie, let people know where they can find you and any else final thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you can find me on my author website, which is c.l.shoemaker. You can also find me on YouTube under Biblical Bliss at Biblical Bliss, and you can find me here on Dee's channel doing reviews. And yeah, that's that.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4 coming soon.
Yes, I'm quite excited about that. So,
Rob, why don't you let people know where they can find you and any other final thoughts you might have?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, I will have the 4K Blu-ray in my collection because I have to own the I mean, you know, it is watchable. We are giving it grief because critically, you know, we look at movies like this where I can't turn it off now. That's just how I think about movies now, even the ones that I love. I try not to watch movies I love that much anymore, so I'm afraid I'm going to pick them apart. But you can find me on my channel, Smirking Gun Reviews, where we just, you know, look, just come check out the content. I got a shitload of it.
It's like I've been doing this for 3 hours now.
Hey, look, man, no, we're doing the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season. We just ended 3. We're about to start doing season 4 reviews coming out next week. The Leftovers. We're finishing up season 2, about to start season 3. We're on Doctor Who season, doing the Peter Capaldi episodes. We're doing Kevin Can F Himself. We're just doing a lot. So just come check it out. Look at the playlist. There's a ton of videos. Smirking Gun Plays on Twitch. You can find me at Twitter at reviews_gun. And that's it.
Yeah.
Excellent. And of course, I'm D. You're watching my channel. I have cool guests like this talk about movies and shows a lot. Please hit the subscribe button if you want to be sure to catch all these reviews coming up. We'll be doing some talking about What If. Eventually, we'll have Walking Dead final season coming up. And like I mentioned, we'll be going into reviews of discussions of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4 coming up soon. So hit that notification where you'll be notified of all of the upcoming shows. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you all next time. Go out, enjoy the movie. It's fun. David Harbour's hilarious, or at least to me. And